After reviewing the code, we have found several vulnerabilities. The first one is CSRF, which is cross-site request forgery. So what exactly CSRF do? So CSRF allows an attacker to induce users to perform actions that they do not intend to perform. It allows an attacker to partly circumvent the stamp origin policy, which is designed to prevent different websites from interfering with each other. So this can be seen in the add car file. Let's focus on line 78. So basically, this form lacks CSRF protection, such as CSRF token. Thus, any authenticated admin could be tricked into submitting malicious data. So next vulnerabilities is SQL injection. So SQL injection allows an attacker to interfere with the queries that an application makes to its database. This can allow an attacker to view data that they are not normally able to retrieve. This might include data that belongs to other users or any other data that application can access. This can also be seen in the ADCAR file on line 127. We can see that the user input is embedded directly into the SQL query, making it easy for the attackers to do the injection. We can also see this SQL injection in the admin login file on line 8. So basically, it takes user inputs from the login form, which is admin user and admin password, and directly placing them directly into the SQL. Prepared statements can be implemented to mitigate the vulnerabilities of SQL injection. It separates SQL code from user input, which means the input cannot alter the structure of the query. Next one, for the CSRF, we can add this code into the file. This creates a random unique token stored in the station. Then we add this code to embed the token in the form. This sends the token to the server with form submission. And lastly, we need to add this code. The reason behind this is that the server will validate the token on submission. If the token does not match, the request will be blocked.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afibadi bin Jafar. Today I'm going to talk about vulnerability in car SQL and delete PHP. So first thing first, we are going to start with car SQL. And the problem I found is in the admin table, which is password, storage and plain text, which is very high risk. So as you can see here in this admin password, it use a plain text. So as you can see here, Haris Malik is the admin username, and the admin password is +12. This is very dangerous, and if the database is attacked, the attackers can log in easily. So how do we fix it? We need to use the password must be hashed using strong algorithm like bcrypt or argon2. So we need to use hash make. So now we move on to the delete.php. I've reviewed the PHP file, and what does this PHP do is actually it delete a car record from the database. However, it uses unvalidated user input directly in a SQL query like this here, and this is very vulnerable to SQL injection. For example, an attacker could go to delete.php car underscore id equals 1 or 1 equals 1. This will delete all car records in the table. To fix this, we need to just prepare statements with parameter binding, and that's all.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Akhilamiti Anwar, and now we will proceed with the details car.php. So basically this page is actually vulnerable to the SQL injection and the cross-site scripting due to its displaying unsanitized user control data. So this is the code that I found vulnerable. So it's car ID and the result. And then how to secure code from the SQL injections. Okay, so first we have we can do input validation and sanitizations. Before using the car ID from the URL, the code now will check if it's actually an integer. So actually this will prevent attackers from injecting non-numeric character that could break off the query. Okay, next we can use prepared statements. So now the database knows whatever values is in car ID should be treated only as a data and never as part of the SQL command itself. So this completely naturalizes attempts to inject malicious SQL. Now we will be moving on to the next vulnerability, which is the cross-site scripting. So we can use HTML special character. So for example here, we can use HTML special character because this is a crucial PHP function that used to convert special character into HTML entities. So this means that if an attacker tries to inject the script tags or other HTML code, they will be displayed harmlessly as a plain text. Okay, now moving on to the home admin.php page. So basically this page are primarily vulnerable to the cross-site scripting. So how to secure this from the cross-site scripting is that we can use the HTML special characters again for the plain text displayed URL parameters and the image src attributes. So we can convert any potentially dangerous characters into the harmless text so that no one can trick the browser into running the malicious code.
My name is Natasha Idayu and I will continue with the update.php code review. The first vulnerability we had found in the update.php code is SQL injection. In this line, the code inserts the car_id value from the URL directly into an SQL query. This is dangerous because an attacker could change the URL to include something like car_id equals to 1 or 1 equals to 1 and the database would run the altered query, possibly exposing or modifying the unintended data. And this is the way to mitigate this vulnerability. The mitigation uses a prepared statement which separates the data from the SQL command, preventing injection attacks. For the second vulnerability in this update.php code is cross-site scripting. In this code, the data from the database is placed directly into the HTML form. If the value includes script text, it could run in the browser of anyone who opens the form. This is the way to mitigate this vulnerability. By using HTML special characters, we make sure anything dangerous is displayed as plain text instead of running as code. For the third vulnerability is missing ENC type for file uploads. In this form, it is supposed to support image uploads, but without ENC type equals to multiplied from data code, the uploaded file won't be included in the post request and the server won't receive the image. To mitigate this vulnerability, we have to include the specific code. The last vulnerability in update.php code is missing CSRF token. The form doesn't include any CSRF protection, and that means another site could trick the admin into submitting a fake form without their consent. And this is the way to mitigate this vulnerability. I also added a server-side validation later in the update process.php, and this token ensures the form came from our site and not somewhere else. Next, we will proceed with update process.php code review. The first vulnerability found is SQL injection. As you can see here, this line takes raw input from the form and puts it straight into the SQL query. An attacker could enter something harmful and it will run successfully. Ways to mitigate this vulnerability is using a prepared statements that stop SQL injection by treating the input strictly as values. And the next vulnerability is file upload vulnerability. In this line, it is incorrect because the uploaded files are stored in the files array and not posts. Also, there are no safety checks. It doesn't check if the file is an actual image. Ways to mitigate this vulnerability is by using this code. It added a file type and size text before saving the image. The third vulnerability is no CSRF protection. The submitted CSRF token is never checked against the session token, making the form vulnerable to forged requests. And the form accepts post data without checking if it's legit. And this means that even though the form had a CSRF token, the update process.php code didn't verify it, and that means someone could send a fake post request and it will still be processed. And the last but not least vulnerability in this update process.php code is no authentication and authorization check. In this vulnerability, there was no check to see if the user is logged in as an admin, and that means even a visitor could try to access this page directly and submit changes into this page.